So for some people who have been here before, you know how this works, what the Industry Peeps is all about. We are essentially a network, or we're trying to be a network that allows collaborative behavior between actors, directors, dancers, choreographers, all of the stuff that you would home in under the performance industry, and trying to promote creation of your own work, you know, using people you know, and, you know, essentially paving the future for the industry. So at the moment, it's just a project that me and Saeem are working on. And as a part of 2021, we want to start running more events to get more people connected, to create these sorts of workshops and these Q&As to allow people to explore different avenues into the industry, which is why we're starting with Laurel, because Laurel has a very unique way of getting into it, and quite a weird path for someone who knew her from Tring, and to see where she's gone now. So yeah, please keep an eye out. We will be hosting more of these throughout the year, but obviously for now we will start with Laurel. And to people who'll be watching this after, because we're recording this, hi. So do you want to say anything, Saeem, before we kick?
No, I was just saying hi.
Oh, okay, cool. So let me introduce Laurel, who is our guest speaker, I suppose. So I know you're not going to like this, Laurel, but I have a nice little introduction for you. So assistant director, producer, stage manager, technical operator, actress, teacher, and nanny, as in someone who looks after kids and doesn't have grandchildren, like that kind of nanny, not, yeah. She's only 23, that'd be weird. Since 2017, Laurel has worked on 20 shows in various backstage roles, as well as appearing in 7 shows herself. Majority of these have been in theatres she has worked at. She won an award as an actress in Chaplin, A Birth of a Tramp, which won Best Production.
I didn't win it.
No, well, Ross won the whole production won for Best Production, but part of marketing is you twist stuff. No, it's not fair. As well as receiving the following reviews for her performance in Gentleman Jack. I hope I've got the right show. Laurel's Tib Norcliffe is a highlight. Is this the right show? Please tell me this is the right show. Great. Is a highlight. Marks is both naturally funny and adept at showing Tib's hidden depths. And Laurel is a standout as Tib, hopelessly in love with young Anne. So, welcome, Laurel.
Hiya.
Hiya. Right, so I think we should probably start at the beginning. Obviously you trained as an actor. Well, you started off as training as a dancer right back at the age of like 10.
Yeah.
But from there you went on to train acting at Tring, and then went to Fourth Monkey to train physical theatre acting. So tell us how you went from that and how the opportunity came around for you to work backstage.
It was while I was at Fourth Monkey, on just a break. We had for our last shows for like the Edinburgh Fringe final shows of the year thing. We had an outside director come in. So this happened to be for one of the shows I was in was Ross McGregor, who runs Arrows and Traps, and I happened to have a chat with him on like a break about how I maybe wanted to do a bit of directing and I didn't know what I was doing, kind of thing. And then he was doing a show at the Broccoli Jack basically as soon as I graduated, and that was an adaptation of Frankenstein. And he just asked if I wanted to come and assistant direct it. So obviously I said yeah. And yeah, and then I ended up like, because I was just there and keen, obviously, he was like, well, why don't you learn to tech operate it? And then both of us don't have to be here every night, which was a smart decision. So I learned to do that. And as soon as I learned to do that, it just like snowballed.
Which I suppose is nice because it keeps you well and truly in the theatre industry, even if it's not, you know, on stage itself. You mentioned there that, you know, you approached Ross with a want to direct. Where did that want originate? Have you done something in the past that's made you want to do that? Is it just you've been like, you know, screw it, let's just direct as well?
You know what? I think never thought about it, but I think it might be because I directed something with Jack at Tring, and that was because I always did loads of comedy.
Yeah.
And I always got really annoyed. This is going to sound so up my own arse when I watched not everyone, but some other people do comedy, and it annoyed me that it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like that, just whether punchlines weren't hitting or whatever. And then Jack was talking to me and we were talking about directing a comedy and I was like, yes. And I loved doing that. And I thought, well, like, I don't know what, like there's so many avenues into, all I knew was that I wanted to be an actor, but I also just wanted to be in a theatre.
Yeah. Fair.
So I thought, why not try?
Nice.
And see if I like it.
Great. And what essentially was the transition like for you from somebody who has spent the majority of their acting career, you know, their life training to be an actor? What was that transition like to go from that to then working backstage?
Well, not that odd, because also the thing with training to be an actor is it's not actually like being an actor in any way, if you know what I mean. They, like you do like Meisner classes and whatever, but it's weirdly so much of it is not that at all. So much of it is just sitting in a rehearsal room watching other people and like teching and like bits that you don't get taught about. So it wasn't that weird, and also because I've always like I'm just a control freak. It was quite nice to do the other side of it, the stuff that I didn't know. What was your question? Did I answer it or did I not?
Yeah, sort of. You said there wasn't really a transition, which kind of answers the question, was there a transition? But that's an answer. Somebody put a question in. Yes, we're not going to designate a time. So if you do have a question, just, you know, shout out and ask away. I do have a list of questions, so try not to answer any of those because otherwise we'll start running out of questions. But hey ho, you know, just go ahead, shout out. Was that just a general question or did you have a question?
So with my question, I think it probably is one of your questions. So I was going to just wait to the answer. I can just wait, and then if you've not answered it, I can go ahead. Okay,
cool. That's fine. If it does, to be fair, I was joking. If it does waste up my questions, it doesn't take up any more time. It just means I talk less, which is okay.
Nice.
All right, Laurel. So the next question is that I have is how was that, going away from acting in general, how has that changed, you know, working backstage, changed your perception of theatre as a theatre goer? So as an audience member watching something at the National or something at the Broccoli Jack or whatever it may be.
I mean when you're young as well, and when you're training as well, like, and obviously actors are quite like this, like it's all about the actors. Everything is about them, and for the huge, obviously when you're watching a show, a lot of it is them. I had no idea the amount of work that goes into everything backstage. It was insane. But yeah, nice to learn about. I loved learning about it, but also it does get annoying now watching stuff. I remember going to see I don't know what it was in the Dorfman at the National, and it was honestly just awful show. I can't remember what it was, but we I went with a friend and we sat down, and then I immediately looked at the rig to look at the lights, and I noticed all these green gels. They had a row of profiles along each side with loads of green gels, and I learned to my friend and I was like, we're going to be in a forest at some point.
I know what show you're talking about. Was this the one that had the chairs that acted as the trees?
That sounds like something this show would have done. I can't remember.
I think it was an adaptation of
yes, it was.
An adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh no, it wasn't. I think this was like a Peter Brook kind of thing. Yeah, that's annoying that I can't just sit and just watch a show now.
Yeah,
And I'm
as an actor, I will sit and watch the acting, as you said, and I will analyze that, and I will like or hate a show dependent on the acting. Obviously, have some sort of, I mean, living with you and getting to know you, I do find out quite a lot of how the backstage stuff works. So if the spotlight is off, it will now annoy me, which is great. Cheers, Laurel. But I suppose for you, who has more knowledge on that, that must have a massive effect on how you view theatre.
Yeah, but also then like watching other stuff, I can't think of an example specifically, but when like what's happening on stage and sound and lighting comes together perfectly, and it makes one of those like ooh moments when you're watching something, like that's much more satisfying than it would be had I not done all the backstage stuff, because I know how much effort has gone into getting the timing of that perfect.
So what is that? So tell me, as somebody who's done the technical operating, so the lighting and the stage management, I know it's probably going to be a hard answer to answer, but how much effort and time goes into certain rigs and certain looks that you'll have for a scene?
Loads. It's all prep. Do you mean like literally what happens?
Yeah, talk us through how as let's just say as an assistant director to Ross, how you would work with him potentially to plan out what that scene is going to look like, both lighting, stage wise, all of it, performance.
I wouldn't. Really, I don't know whether this is just the directors that I've worked with, but you don't do a lot of that. Ross does it more than others, I think, but it's you hire a lighting designer, they'll watch the show in a rehearsal room, and usually record it, and they'll make a rig plan of where all their lights are going to be, and then when you go into tech, put all the lights up, address them, patch them, focus them, do all of that lot, and then you'll just start plotting through. So you have a rough kind of, the lighting designer does all of it. You have a rough plot of where everything's going to go, what everything does, that kind of thing. And then when you go into tech and then you have the actors in the space, that's when usually the director will go, oh no, can we take that down? Can we do, no, this needs more of a this kind of feeling. And I can't describe it in any other way than like a feeling. Of, okay, this scene gets a bit like that. Okay, so we'll add that color in and stuff like that. Nice,
perfect. So also then, I suppose, looking at it from the other side, so you know how working backstage has helped you, you know how it has affected you as a theatre goer, but how is that sitting on one side of the desk, let's say, how is that then translated for you then being on the other side of the desk as a performer? How is working backstage essentially helped you?
It's like a double-edged sword, I think. It's helped in so many ways. I remember one show pretty early on, there was one that was in Thrust. Tarot. So we there was those shows are really hard to light because you've got audience on three sides, and we had like these birdie lights under some decking on the sides, and there was a big pop about 15-20 minutes into the show. And like we all knew like a light had gone somewhere, but I kind of just like looked at that and I was like, cool, it's that light that's gone. And then I could like redo some of my track where I knew that light was on to make sure I was lit. Yeah, that's really helpful. Or just generally just being lit when on stage, but it's something I've never understood, that the actors can't find their light, and lots of people just really can't do it. But there's like the same show, we had a moving table and that moved us into a scene and I was sat on it, and it wasn't moved far enough downstage by the and when we were on it, so I was the person who was sat there was casting a huge shadow on my face.
Yeah.
So I could just kind of like during the scene to be lit there. It's small stuff like that, but it also just makes you hyper aware of everything. It's quite difficult in another way, because I mean, I think this happens with most actors anyway, but I just put myself in the mindset of whoever's tech operating when a cue doesn't happen. I know there's meant to be sound there, but instead of like getting annoyed about it or confused, I just started to panic, because I'm like, what's happened?
Yeah.
What does this mean for the rest now? Is there a problem that but I think most actors will have that anyway. I just get a bit more like about it.
So focusing more now, let's focus more on the directing and the assistant directing. I know, you know, around with the Hope at Home series that you worked on, that you were very much a part of that casting opportunity as well. Again, how does that translate, knowing that you've seen what it looks like potentially on the other side of Spotlight, to be looking at people's profiles as they come in? How has that helped you to then, within your own acting, in your own acting profile, change that? But also further down the line, how has it then helped you change your potentially audition process, or how you realize how an audition process actually works from being sat on the other side of the desk?
I mean, the Hope at Home I was a producer on, and that was, yeah, so we had to hire all the directors as well. But yeah, we knew we were going to get a huge amount of people apply for it, because this was in like last September and no one's been working.
Yeah.
But we put the calls out and we were going to weed them down to about like 30 people for the directors that we'd hired. And it was monumental, the amount. I think we put it out on social media as well and got quite a few people through that, and then put it out on Spotlight. And I think it was like I was just late on something, so we could only put it on for about 24 hours. And I was worried that we weren't going to get enough people, and that like in the thousands for 5 roles. And then I was like, oh, I got to sift through all of these. But I think me looking at that as if I was an actor applying, I mean, read the stuff you're given. Just like read it. Yeah, pay attention to detail, I guess. And address it personally. It's not, the people reading it, like, it's not a computer.
Yeah.
There is a person just like me reading that on the other side. So it's really, really nice not to just be like, I want to do this role.
Yeah.
Because that it would tell me nothing about who that person is. There's also another side of, I'm more used to Mandy, which is like when actors are submitting themselves. And I'd never been on the casting process from that early on anyway, but because agents submit people on Spotlight, so you don't actually know whether like that actor's been submitted.
Yeah.
And it says in the little message box that they're really, really interested, but that actor has actually never heard of this project.
Yeah.
So I think, just without going overboard, I'd just try and make it as personable. Is that what I mean?
I think that's the
personable and as detailed as possible, and just like, read the dates, make sure you're actually available. No, don't laugh, because you'd really be surprised.
So as that whistling it down then, so you had, as you said, you had in the thousands and you only had 5 roles to cast. Talk me through that process from your end of those submissions, then choosing the short list of 130, whatever the short list was, and then the audition process to then whittle that down to those just those 5 performers. Which I've watched all of the things now, and I watched them as they were coming out, and like, you hit the nail on the head. There's no bad performances in that series at all. So you obviously did the correct whistling down process, but how did that work?
I mean, I think when you're an actor and you're trained, you hear all the time about how brutal it is. I didn't expect it to be that brutal. It honestly, like, I'd read the scripts, and we knew from the writers, and we knew what they were meant to look-ish like. So most of it is age. Actually, like, there was a character of a man, probably like early mid 40s, dad, but a bit scruffy, and that, let's say we got like 600 or something like that. That's just going through for the first round and just clicking everyone that doesn't look like that, and just being like, no. And then I do another round of that just to make sure I wasn't like just being too kind. And then the people that you have left, probably like 100, and then watch their show reels. Usually only got about like 10 seconds, if that, into show reels, before I knew whether they were any, like, because then you can actually see if they can act. Whittling down like that just off like a minute of a show reel, and then going back through and watching the full show reel. And then we had like 30, 40, but there were 5 roles, and it was me and Toby and Kennedy who were with the Hope, and we all kind of, this is when you're allowed in other people's houses, and we all just sat in his garden shed on our own laptops, just doing that for a day and a half to get it down.
So long.
Then we handed it over to the directors. They organized the auditions, they did all of that, and they then emailed me when they'd decided who they wanted to pick.
So just timeline wise, then, from that first, you know, you submitting that spotlight casting to the decisions being made, how quick was the turnaround, was it, for all that work?
About 4 days.
Yeah, no, you can keep that job. So in terms of then, let's look back, let's go back into it. So how have you found that all of these opportunities have come around? So first we'll focus on, you know, from that conversation you had with Ross outside the Monkey House that then led you to get that first opportunity. How was that then, you know, snowballed into you essentially working on 20 different productions, which include ones at the Broccoli Jack, at the Greenwich Theatre, at the Hope? How has that come around?
Well, obviously I did Frankenstein, and then I had met, through being at a theatre, I met Kate, who runs the Broccoli Jack, and I was at the Royal Court seeing a play by myself, of course, and Kate was just there watching the same show, and I kind of like bumped into her afterwards and just said hi, and we were just having a chat, and I don't know, it didn't, like, I must have like networked, but I don't remember doing it. And just had a chat with her, said that like if anything comes up that she's working on, if it would be possible for me to jump in on, if she'll have me, kind of thing. And she was like, oh, actually I've got something coming up in a month or so, I'll drop you an email. And that was for Kess, and that was to assistant direct on, and then that was all sorted. And then I got a phone call because their stage manager had pulled out. And because like the Fringe Theatre, there's not any money in it, so I wasn't going to be paid for assistant directing because there wasn't the budget for that. It was just because I wanted to do it. She said, if you stage manage it as well, then we have the budget, I can pay you. And I said, cool, I don't know how to do that. Like I've never done that job. And she was like, but you can, like, I've tech operated. She was like, you'll be fine, it'll be okay. And I was like, okay then. Did that. I did an all right job, I guess, because then Kate then asked me back to do 2 more shows when that closed. And then with Arrows and Traps, they just were asking me to come do stuff, and I was asking to come and do stuff. The Greenwich was with Lazarus, and I think Ricky, who runs Lazarus, had put something out on Facebook. He was looking for a DSM, and it was like Ross and Jack and a couple of people I'd worked with had tagged me in it. And I went in for an interview with them, and got that. And the stuff at the Hope was with Matthew, who used to run the Hope and then left. I think this is his last in-house show that I did. With him, I'd worked with him on, when I was in Tarot, he was the movement director on that, and he was also the movement director on something I assistant directed on with Kate.
Yeah.
And he knew I'd stage managed as well, and just dropped me an email and kind of said, are you around? Do you want to grab a coffee and have a chat? And did that, and it kind of it's all weird, and I can't really
you can't put your finger on what actually happened.
Yeah, it's just, I kind of just said yes to everything because I enjoyed doing it. I was getting paid to be in a theatre. I found with all of it, I was just like, if I just work really hard, even though I don't really know what I'm doing, people are just tending to ask me back. So I'll just keep doing that, I guess. And then it got to a point in like, it was in October 2018, I think.
That would have been about a year of you, because Frankenstein, if I remember correctly, was September 2017. Well, that's when the rehearsal started.
The year after that was 2018, around October. Then I remember having like a full-fledged like panic because I was having to turn work down because I couldn't fit it into a schedule of like, I wouldn't be able to do it, or and that was mental.
Yeah,
I was like, what's happening? I don't know what I'm doing.
I'd love to turn down work. Except
yeah, it wasn't acting work. It was all like tech stuff. Yeah, and I think after it's been weird. I've been having this conversation a few times recently. I feel like all the jobs I was doing pre-COVID were like, they were still fun and I could still do them and I still enjoyed them, but I wasn't really, I got to the point where it was kind of a similar thing. I wasn't really learning anything. And then COVID happened, always happening. And all of a sudden, like, I got offered that producer job for The Hope. And I'm working with Arrows and Traps again now on Talking Gods. And like the jobs have just, like, ability level have just skyrocketed. Which is so much fun because I'm doing stuff I think because film is coming into it a lot, it's a lot of stuff I haven't done before. So it's nice to be learning.
Nice. And now looking at that, I suppose, as acting opportunities that have arrived from you, changing rigs and turning lights on and off, and directing and assistant directing and all of the ins and outs of that you have done as Backstage. How have those opportunities come around?
I will just preface this with, you know, like say before, in that Arrows and Traps doesn't, like, not, companies don't work like this usually because it's a rep company. And you use a lot of the same people over and over again. As an actor, it's the funnest way to work because you already know the people and there's none of that like first day rehearsal nervous, like it's just gone. Also you're challenged to do stuff you don't want, like you haven't done before. But I did the rep season with them in January 2019 and then Chaplin January, February 2020. We were meant to go on a UK tour that got cancelled because of COVID. All of that was just Ross just asked me to have a chat about a show that he was doing and do I want to be in it. And because with that company, because the writing is always ridiculously strong.
Mhm.
I think with most of us that work or are company members, we kind of say yes before a script's written, because you know it's going to be good, and you know you're going to be challenged, and you know you're going to be working with people that you like. Yeah, so those ones I didn't audition for in that kind of way, which obviously doesn't happen ever. And with other people, like, I haven't actually acted with anyone else apart from that company. There's been a lot of talking about like I want to get you in on something and I want to do it, but like it's life and stuff falls through, and there's a lot of like, at some point I need to do that. Yeah, so I can't just like wait for that. But it's all these conversations have come out of relationships I already have with people that I've stage managed for.
Nice. Well, and that's great. Essentially, just by keeping your ear to the ground and networking and not being a dick, means that, you know, that people want to work with you again, which is in whatever capacity it is. I mean, it sounds like people have gone, there's this other opportunity that you've never done before, but hey ho, give it a go, because, you know, we like you.
Well, I hope so. I hope that's the case. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's
Perfect. So what's in the pipeline then for Laurel Marks?
Bits and bobs. No, something maybe so, because I can't like say, do you know what I mean, because stuff hasn't been announced.
Yeah,
something, I'm probably doing something in May /June /July, I don't know yet, that hasn't been, it's not like it's Star Wars or anything, it's, you know, but something. Then I'm hoping that we'll get to be able to do the Chaplin tour at some point, because that was one of those shows where you're like, ooh, there's, you know, in that rehearsal process where you're always like, is this good?
Yeah.
We don't know. But that was one where after the first night I was like, ooh, this is getting a reaction that I haven't experienced before. And that was a really good show, and I really do hope we get to do it. So hopefully we might be able to tour when, like, next year, I don't know.
Whenever.
But yeah, I'm getting some like kooky, weird job opportunities at the moment. So
Perfect. Again, great to hear. I suppose great to hear that is what's coming out of it. And then I suppose I've got two more questions from my side, and other people might have it who are watching. So the first one is, do you want to continue living this double life? You know, your backstage superhero and your actress, villain, I don't know, or are you leaning to, you know, more to one?
I don't know. I think I was getting to a stage pre-COVID where I was like, I'm gonna stop doing so much of this backstage stuff, because I also like haven't auditioned for anything in a year or two now, because I don't want to keep holding time, like saying like, oh well, I can't take that stage management job because what if an acting job crops up? But also, like, 99% of the time it isn't going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I may as well just take the work and keep going. But I kind of decided over the past year that besides acting work, any other jobs, I will take it if also, like, if I can pay my rent by doing that job. But I'll only take it if I'm learning something new by doing it, unless it's with like people I really like working with. Then I'll just do the job, because I'm gonna have fun, and why not? Yeah, but otherwise it's still fun and I still enjoy it and I still love being in a theatre, but what am I, if I'm not learning anything, what's the point?
Okay, cool. And the final one for me, really, and you can take some time to think about this one, but from the whole conversation that we've had that started about half an hour ago, if you had to just sum down everything into your 3 top tips on how you can use not only just Backstage but just general being yourself to better yourself as an actor or someone who wants to work backstage, what would those 3 tips be?
Just work your ass off.
Number 1.
Yeah, don't be a dick, just behave like a normal human, a nice person,
Yeah,
a generous person if you can. It's hard. And oh, this is a bit longer than a word, but I don't know how to make it into a word. It's about like networking.
Yeah,
because I was just thinking about this earlier, because I was seeing a friend's play, and there was a guy there who'd seen me do something and was talking to me, and as he was talking to me I was like, oh, you're networking, which was weird because I was like, why?
what?
But then I realized that all the stuff that's come out of jobs, I haven't felt like I was networking with someone, or like trying. I didn't go into it being like, I'm going to get a job out of this, you know what I mean? Just like they're humans.
Yeah,
Let's have a conversation. It doesn't, if you go in with that attitude, I just feel like it's not going to work, because you're not actually having a conversation with them, you're talking at them.
Yeah,
that's my word.
Your word. So your top tips are work hard, don't be a dick, and just chat to people.
Yeah,
nice. Which is fair, and that's kind of what I'd probably agree with you in general in networking. Just don't be a dick and just chat to people.
Yeah.
Let's open the floor then. Then we might we might not have covered everything. There might be questions that people might want to ask themselves. So if you do have something you wish to ask, unmute yourself. You can ask away. If 2 people ask at the same time, then what we'll do is we'll try and we'll just go with whoever speaks first, I suppose. I see Saeem has turned his camera on. I don't know if that means he has a question or whether he's just wants his face to be seen.
Not yet, but I'm thinking about one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead. We've got someone else.
Yeah. Hi, Laurel. My name is Fakaya, and I'm an actor. Well, I'm hoping to be an actor. And my question, I have 2, and my first question is, when you decided to be backstage, did you ever go with the intention of, okay, I'm going to be backstage, but I still want to do acting? Like right now, you said that you're not sure, but at any point, did you think, okay, I'll just do this for a short period of time, and then I'll go into action, and then I'll go into acting? Did you have that intention, or did you just go with the flow?
I kind of just went with the flow of it. I don't see them as like separate things, as like I either do this or I do that. Okay. I think you can do both. Yeah, but I've never stopped having acting being the focus, if that makes sense. Okay. That's always been what I've wanted to do and what I do hope I end up doing. But if I can do this along the way, I'm in a theatre and I'm learning. So why not take those opportunities?
Okay. Thank you. My second question to you is, for me, obviously I would like to go into acting, but I've kind of like nowadays been really interested in just like knowing what goes on behind the scenes and just getting a feel for it, because I've never been on set before, and someone told me that it's good to like just be on set, like even as an extra, just to see what happens. So I'm always like really eager to get that, but at the moment I have an agent and they're not really looking to get me extra work, if you get what I mean. So I was wondering if you know any sites you would recommend, or anybody you would recommend me get in touch with. And also, I'm currently a student in university, so during my summer holidays, I'm hoping to like reach out to production companies and see if they're looking for like ADs and stuff like that. So I was wondering if you know of anyone, or know of any companies that even maybe just do specific internships or stuff like that, or where I could go to find that out, because I'm really eager to just see the industry I would like to get into before I immerse myself into it.
Yeah. So are you more like film based than theatre?
Yes, I'm more, I don't think theatre's out the question, but at this moment in time I'm more film based.
I know way less about film. But yeah, agencies don't tend to do extra stuff. I think there are other agencies that get, I'm not sure whether, I'm sure you can be signed up to both, but loads of people.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe just contact them. I know they kind of just are like, yeah, let's go for it kind of vibe with them. Yeah, contact them. Other than that, I'd say find, to get experience just being on set, find like not the email for the big companies, but look into who's working on particular things. So like all the way down.
Okay.
And maybe contact them. They're more likely to reply, I guess, and just ask if you can shadow.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, yeah, most people start as like a runner or a grip and stuff like that. So I think
grip, if I may ask.
They like sort cables and stuff, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, just run with cables. Yeah, but that's where most people start, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, try and get into that stuff. But also what with theatre stuff, what I wouldn't rule out is that everything's kind of moving to film-based stuff now.
Okay.
Even I think, yeah, shows from here on out, I think it's going to be rare that they're not streamed.
Okay.
Because why wouldn't you, when you're having stuff that only people in London can see?
Yeah.
You give the
have the global
people in Newcastle to
yeah.
watch it. So I think that's going to come into theatre a lot more when everything reopens. I hope it does.
Just to jump in there, just off the top of my head, there is an extras company called Universal Extras, which tend to do quite big productions, and you can sign up to them and you can be a part of that without your agent, you know, away from your agent. Your agent isn't going to get annoyed if you're indoors and finding yourself opportunities to be on a set of Star Wars or whatever it may be. But if you just go on Google and type in extra work, you will come up with a list of agencies that you can just, similar to Mandy and things like that, you just sign up for and then they'll contact you.
Okay, thank you for that.
No worries. Yeah, on the whole, people are, whenever I've emailed people, just like, I just want experience.
Yeah.
Doing something. People are like, I didn't expect people to be so generous with their time and being like, yeah, come along. I think people always want to help if they can. Yeah, it's just right to people, I guess.
Yeah. Are you yourself looking, would you yourself be willing for people to shadow you in your work?
Yeah, I guess so. It's not, I think, because in my head I'm like, it's not very interesting. Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, like we can't because of COVID. You're only allowed certain amounts of people wherever, and a lot of the places I work at, like, I've tried to have someone shadow me in a tech box before, and it's tiny in there. But yeah, of course, why not? If it's a job where whoever I'm working for allows that and is fine with that, then of course, why not?
Thank you for answering.
That's all right.
All right, Simon, have you thought of that question yet, or are you just gonna leave it for now? I'm gonna say that's a shake of the head.
I think most of the questions that I wanted to ask have been answered, and that's why
I'm not really sure what else I like.
I think you covered everything.
I would say what I would say is like, obviously you're saying that you're really enjoying doing this side now, and you're sort of in between, but in a good way, like in a welcoming, happy way. Would you say that, is there anything wrong with people having that as a well-intended strategy of just building a world in, like, building a life in this world, even if their main goal isn't to work backstage, but their main goal is to be an actor on stage?
I don't think you should go into it being like, if I work with this person, then that's going to get me that, and this is going to get me that, because that's just not. Everything that's happened to me has just happened by chance and luck and the hard work. But yeah, I think if you can go into it, but just don't have the attitude of, this is, if I do this and this is going to happen. But apart from that, I think, like, if you want to learn more about it, like, and people want to work with you or want you to come and do something, like, why not do it? What are you losing?
Well, yeah, I guess the more experience in every different angle,
Yeah,
the better for you as an actor anyway.
It can be like a bit of a double-edged sword, I think, with some stuff. I think stage managers, like, great stage managers, sounds like I'm calling myself great, stage managers are hard to come by, and actors are very, very easy to come by. So the double-edged side of it comes when, like, yes, that director might want you to act in something, but also they need a stage manager,
right?
And they know you can do that. So like, I can get an actor anywhere. I've just been very fortunate that especially with Arrows and Traps, that they've been able to put that aside and let me do what I really want to do, rather than what I just happen to be good at, I guess.
It's definitely, like, even if you're not, like you said, you probably shouldn't go in with that strategy or goal, even if you don't necessarily get that and get, like, on stage work from doing it. If you're someone starting out, or if you're someone, you know, in the early stages of your career, it's definitely a great way to build, because one thing we all know we need is a network of people within like this industry of this game. And so to start out having relationships with all these different people who play so many different types of roles around this project is a great way of building a like a knowledge base and a foundation of understanding exactly what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way to just, like, build some contacts. Especially, like, on the Talking Gods thing we're filming now, I'm doing the lights for it, and I was doing the lighting design, and the guy who I got in to help me, Jean, who runs the tech at the Hope, we, like, couldn't figure something out or couldn't fix something, and I was like, I have, like, 7 people I could call now that would be able to help me fix it. Turns out it's something that actually can't be done, so it couldn't be fixed. But that's wonderful.
But yeah, I get your point.
To have in, like, every aspect of theatre. Now, if I need help with something, there's someone I can call to give me a hand, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing as well. Like, if you've got that as, obviously, like, again, like you said, it's not, you shouldn't use these things as like a strategy or a tactic or anything, but it's just definitely worth noting that if you are an actor who's being considered for a role, and let's say a director has a choice between you and 2 other great actors, and you're all good for the role, chances are they probably might take someone who's got tons of backstage experience that could be extra help and extra use, and they know can bring more to the table to help them.
Yeah, I don't actually, I didn't really think about that. Yeah, maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the more useful you are, the more you have to offer.
I think that differs probably from director to director. I know with the stuff I work on with Arrows, it's very collaborative. And, like, this guy called Toby who we work with, he was like used to be a construction guy, so it can, like, build everything. So we've also got him there to, like, fix the bench when it's broken. He's another actor in the show. and that kind of like multifaceted company is really lovely to have, and it kind of separates that thing of like we're the actors and you're that, and like, because that's a bit icky for me anyway.
Perfect. That's great. I think I'm very cautious of time. We've run over a little bit. So listen, if anyone else has any questions that we potentially haven't answered, then sling me over an email with it in. I live with Laurel, so I'll wake her up in the middle of the night to ask her it about 2 a.m. just ask her your question and see what her answer is. But first of all, I'd like to say a massive thank you, of course, to Laurel for answering the questions, being here, taking time out of her busy schedule, you know, especially working on Talking Gods at the moment to speak to us. So first of all, thank you. I'll give you a little clap. Everyone else is on mute. Clapping. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who joined us today to be a part of this. I hope you learned something from today, and or you got away, you know, some sort of notes to take away with you. That potentially isn't just don't be a dick, because I think that's a general rule for life and not just.
I've heard, you know what? Funnily enough, I've heard that from so many people.
Don't be a dick is just a general lifestyle.
No, as in the industry, so many people have said, like, even if you watch loads of YouTube videos of like really great, successful, famous actors, one of the first things they say if they've got 3 tips is be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah.
Like they want
to work with arseholes.
No, I know, but it's worth noting that they include that in their 3 things. But clearly, it goes a long way. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So I hope people have learned stuff today. So I thank you for coming. This will be going up on YouTube, on Instagram, and probably on Facebook after this. So to anyone who's watching later, thank you for watching. Let's get that views up, share it, like, subscribe, whatever all of that is. Do all that. But yeah, once again, thanks Laurel for coming, and thank you for everyone for tuning in.
Thanks guys.
Thanks guys. Bye.
Bye bye.